Hello, welcome to Wide World of Sports on a Sunday morning. I'm Nick McArdle. Great to have your company. Look at this superstar lineup. Mark Taylor, Bronte Campbell and Gus Warland. Great to see you guys. Bronte, great to see you. This is very timely, I think, considering what we've got to talk to you about today.
Yeah, we've got a lot of news in swimming. Ariarne Titmus announcing her retirement this week, so there's lots to chat about there.
Indeed, we'll have a look at all of that. Let's have a look at what is coming your way on this edition of Wide World of Sports. The winners and losers from the most explosive AFL trade period ever. Australia's most successful winter Paralympian Michael Milton out of retirement and aiming for his 6th Winter Games. Michael joins us live in the studio. We check in on a revolutionary new surfing comp in Sydney's West. Is this the future of the sport? Ange Postecoglou sacked. Stan Sports' Craig Foster joins us to look at the fallout. And in the wake of Arnie's farewell, Gussie's top 5 unexpected sporting retirements. All that and a stack more over the next hour, right here on Nine's Wide World of Sports. Yes, all of that coming away on this edition of Wide World of Sports. There is a whole lot to talk about this morning, and to get us started, we welcome Billy Slater to the panel. The Pacific Championship's underway. Bill, a great doubleheader today.
Rugby league is not finished. When you think it's finished, it's not finished. There's always something else. So, Pacific Championships underway. A huge game this afternoon. New Zealand up against Samoa. Over there in Auckland, it's going to be a huge crowd. And I think it's probably the most even international game between Samoa, Tonga and New Zealand I've ever seen. So I'm really looking forward to this afternoon.
One of the things to love about this is the passion and the emotion that these island countries come out with and display every time they put on the jersey.
I just get the feel that whenever there's a higher connection, a higher purpose in our game, the game goes to another level. We see that at origin level and we see it at international level. I think there's huge growth, and there's been huge growth in the international game, especially in the Pacific Islands. And we see the players like Jeremiah Nanai, Josh Papali'i, and you've got Payne Haas who have defected to play for Samoa over Australia this year. And it just adds to the theatre of it, but it means so much to the players. That's why you get such a contest.
Yeah, Payne Haas, well, I want to ask you about him. You say he's defected, as you say, to Samoa. So just had a grand final win, is in great form. It looks like he's going to be the key for Samoa today against the Kiwis.
Absolutely. Well, he's one of the keys. He's such a big, powerful man, and he's got a huge motor. Like he's talked about as one of the greatest front rowers this game's ever seen. He can do things for long periods of time that other players just can't. And he's got a sidekick in Josh Papali'i who goes pretty well himself. It's going to be a huge battle up front, up against Moses Leota and James Fisher-Harris. So those Kiwis will certainly take it personal, but huge pressure on Payne Haas, and I think he'll deliver.
Kieran Foran's been selected with Brown in the halves for New Zealand, so experience over form necessarily. How do you think they're going to guide the Kiwis around?
Well, Kieran Foran retired from the NRL at the end of this year. Again, when you think it's over, it's never over. He's put his hand up. A little bit like a saviour, to be honest. No Jerome Hughes, he's got a shoulder injury, getting surgery. Sean Johnson also retired at the end of last year. So the stocks in the halves were a little bit low. So he's entered an SOS from New Zealand Rugby League, and he will partner Dylan Brown, who's had a headline season himself, and they'll be looking to play for their country, and two great halves that have done it before.
Well, team, I think we don't think we'll need an SOS as the Jillaroos. We've got a week until they're in action. They're looking for 4 in a row. Is there actually any team internationally that can beat them?
In short, Bronte, no, I don't think so. I just think that the girls are just so superior in every position. You look at Tamika Upton, every time she gets the ball, looks like something's going to happen, and I'm really looking forward to the girls' play because they've got their standard of football to a really high level. So we won't see them until next week, which is going to be a huge weekend up there at Suncorp Stadium next Sunday, where the Jillaroos take on Samoa, but also Samoa take on Tonga up there at Suncorp Stadium next Sunday afternoon. That'll be a whopper.
And tickets still available, and of course you'll see all of that right here on 9. Now, Melbourne Cup, Billy, only 13 days away now to the start of the meet. Back in the saddle again this year. What do you love about that gig? It's one of the best gigs.
It's such an honour, Nick. Obviously, I think the greatest thing I do love about it is being out on the track and trotting up to the jockeys the moment after they win some of the biggest races of their life. Like these jockeys get up at 3 o'clock in the morning and work extremely hard to get these rides, and they're athletes themselves. And then I get to see the emotion and talk to them immediately after they win their grand final. So, yeah, what a privileged position that I get to do, and looking forward, less than 2 weeks away.
Yeah. Bit happening. You'll get a day off at some stage.
Yeah. And they're still going. It never ends.
Thanks for joining us this morning.
Pleasure.
All right, now to one of the biggest sports stories this week, the retirement of Ariarne Titmus after 4 Olympic gold medals, 8 Olympic medals all up across 2 games, Paris and Tokyo. Only 25 years old, one of the toughest competitors the sport's ever seen. Arnie will be remembered as one of the greats.
You know, I always intended to return, and that was the plan, to have a 12-month break off the back of Paris. And then when Dean and I started speaking about, I guess, the roadway back, I just I never felt any fire to get back. So then I was waiting, you know, I'll wait a little bit, see if it starts to come, and I just didn't have that fire in the belly anymore. And I'm actually really glad that I'm leaving like this. You know, I'm not leaving through injury, I'm not leaving through my performance dipping. I'm totally leaving at the right time while I still love the sport, and off the back of what was a great Olympic Games. So I'm really happy with that.
Arnie there after that announcement midweek, and perhaps a shock for many of us, but for those closest to Arnie as part of the Dolphins. Bronte, was it a shock for you?
It wasn't necessarily a shock to me. I think I've seen how much Arnie has had to give to this sport, and what's really important as you get older in the sport is the things that you're sacrificing end up being a bit weightier and a bit heavier. When you're 17 years old and you're sacrificing going to the party down the road, it's hard, but it's not that hard. When you start to get a bit older and you're sacrificing your future career, Annie's spoken a little bit about her health, you have to sacrifice every single thing for this single-minded pursuit. That's what it takes to touch the ball first, like Annie's done for many, many years. And sometimes you just need to look up from the black line, look around at the rest of the world and be like, wow, there's a lot more things out here. And maybe that sacrifice pile is just too big and I'm ready to move on with my life.
Look, for me, she's going out at the right time. So many champions just go that little step over, don't they? Must be hard, though, when you know she's probably going to be a medalist and perhaps a world champion at the next Olympics. Like, must be such a sort of struggle mentally to get through to that decision.
But how much more do you want, Gus? She's already Olympic champion. She's still a world record holder. She's a world champion. She's given everything to the sport already, and she's sort of done it all. And I think you can hear her talking about it there. The fire has to be there. If the passion's not there, the 4 a.m. wake up is just really, really, really not worth it unless you're truly, truly loving it. I think that's a really special message anyway. Like, chase the things that you're passionate about and you love, and leave the sport while you still love it, rather than hold on, fall out of love with it, and then all your good memories end up being a bit tainted. So I think she's a really smart girl. She's made really clever decisions and taken the time and space to get it right.
Yeah, Bronte, I'm a bit like you. I'm not shocked by the fact that she's now retired. I can think back to last century. That's how long ago when I played. I took a week off after what turned out to be my last test. And that week I had all sorts of gear I was going to do. I was going to go to the gym, which I hated anyway, but I just didn't want to do it. And I think that's what has happened to Arnie over the last few months. She's taken this time off to reassess, think about all the things that you've mentioned. She thought, well, I just don't want to go back. I now want to look forward. So I congratulate her on doing that. But it's also not easy for an athlete to get it right. So I don't like necessarily someone saying, oh, I want to keep swimming till this point and then I'll give it up, because you tend to slacken off anyway. It's hard to get it right as a professional athlete, to know what time is right without nominating it.
Yeah, it's really difficult. I think as humans in general, we're pretty bad at predicting how we're going to feel in the future. So I think that the smartest move is to keep chasing your passion while you're in it and then make the call at the right time. And Annie's taken a year out of the sport, giving herself time and space. And when you're so focused on the black line every single day, you don't actually leave room for these decisions to be made. So you're really focused on an outcome and chasing that outcome. So leaving a bit of space is really, really clever. Not everyone has the luxury of being able to do that. As Arnie says, often injuries force you out of the sport, and she's done the biggest mic drop of all time. She's like, Olympic champion, boom, done, I'm out of here.
Very good. Indeed, it was the biggest sports story of the week, and it got us thinking, well, I think it got Gus thinking about a potential top 5 shock retirements, Gussie.
Yes, it certainly did. And what shocked me was how young these people were when they retired. So let's go down here. Number 5, first up, Tubby, one that you and I remember well, Bjorn Borg. He was only 26 years of age when he decided, you know what, I don't want to play tennis anymore. When he retired, he had won 11 majors, which was the number 1. He held the world record at that stage. And he just basically said he lost motivation. He knew he had to be better than he ever was before. He knew he had to work harder because of John McEnroe. John McEnroe had come onto the scene. He went, you know what, I can't go with this guy, so I'm done. This one shocked me the most. Number 4, Shane Gould. She was 16. Sweet 16 when she said, you know what, swimming is no longer fun. She had just had the 1972 Olympic Games, won 5 individual medals, 3 gold, 1 silver, 1 bronze, and she simply said, I'm no longer having fun and I'm out of here. She came back to Masters and ended up loving the sport again, which was a nice touch. Mark Ella, one of the greatest number 10s that Australian rugby has ever seen, one of 3 brothers that played for Australia. He was 25 years of age when, after the Grand Slam winning undefeated tour under Alan Jones, tour of the UK, he says, I got better things to do. I don't want to play rugby anymore. So that was him, done and dusted, and obviously a Wallaby legend and someone that retired way too soon. Number 2, Michael Jordan. Well, he had 3 cracks at retiring. But the one I really want to talk about, guys, is the fact that he was the best basketball player in the world, and then he decided, you know what, I want to try my crack at baseball. So here he is at the White Sox in Chicago. It didn't quite work out for him there, and he came back and played basketball at the highest level again. But for me, Michael Jordan, 3 cracks at it, ended up being pretty good. And number 1, and I said this at the time, tongue-in-cheek, how selfish this was. Ash Barty, we're about to watch her dominate world tennis for the next 5 years. She said, I won Wimbledon, I won the Australian Open. There's the hug with Yvonne Goolagong, and she decided, you know what, I've got better things to do. My dream is done and dusted. So 5 absolute crackers in world sport that left too soon for our, because we wanted to watch them
Especially
more.
Ash. Well,
Yeah.
Oh, selfish.
But like you say, what's next? Now, very happy with a young family. Very content
How
with
dare
life.
she want to have a lovely life?
I'm with you, Gus.
Have a family.
How dare she
and-
chase happiness?
That's exactly right. Should just mention too that Arnie will be with us here on the desk next week on Wide World of Sports. So plenty to talk about. We're looking forward to seeing Ariarne Titmus right here on Wide World of Sports. Stick around, more to come. Thanks for staying with us on Wide World of Sports. We're going to push some quick singles. Mark Taylor, our women's cricketers, they are killing it.
Yeah, no shocks there, is it? Once again, our women's cricket team are into the semi-finals of the World Cup in India, but they haven't had it all their own way, mind you. Elisa Healy back-to-back hundreds, which is a great sign for Australia, but they had to chase down a record against India, which they did, which they achieved, chasing over 330. And at one stage against Pakistan, they were 7 for 76 in a game, made 220 thanks to Beth Moody's 100, and won it comfortably. So they find a way to win and get to the semis again.
Yeah, I think they're our best national team by far. Mason Cox, really classy. First American ever to play regularly in the AFL, released by the Magpies, not offered a new contract, played 139 games, he got delisted. What's next for him? I think he's been really classy this week, just saying how much he just appreciated the opportunity, and I hope another club picks him up, not just for his talent, but for the culture that he may bring as well.
Nice, Gussie.
Yeah, and the Major League Baseball heating up. We're getting towards the end of the championship series. The big news from last night is Eugenio Suarez hitting a grand slam against the Toronto Blue Jays to take theirs to 3-2 lead in their series, best of 7. And this guy here, Shohei Ohtani. 10 strikeouts as a pitcher, 3 home runs, all over 400 foot long in last night's game. The Dodgers thrashed the Brewers 4-0 in that series. So they're once again into the World Series.
And that's why he's worth $700 million. What about the MCG getting flipped from winter to summer? Have a look at this. Of course, all eyes will be on it for Boxing Day, but plenty of Shield cricket to be played as well. Have a look at how good this was. So many concerts also played at the MCG. It's our #1 sort of pavilion, if you like. #1 ground. Have a look at this. Absolutely spectacular, and will look $1 million on Boxing Day, no doubt about it. Well done to everyone involved at the MCG.
Another thing that'll be $1 million, which makes me very excited, is we've got Australia versus the world. We've got more swimming on home soil. Up in Brisbane, we will have Australia take on some of the world's best, including 4 world champion and Olympic champions. Cam McAvoy will be part of the team for Team Australia, but it's definitely not going to be all their own way. As you can see, there'll be some short, fast racing at the Valley Pool, which is my old stomping ground.
Awesome.
So December 12th, that's all here on 9, and you look at that and it's basically match play in the pool. It's match racing. Is it the sort of thing that can grab everyone's imagination and maybe become a regular fixture?
I would love this to become a regular fixture. I think we need more racing and more fast racing. When you have short course racing, so in a 25-metre pool, you get a lot more speed because you get speed off your start and your turn. And so it's a really great thing to do in pre-season when you might not be as fit. You've just come back from your big overseas competition. And so it's a great way to practice that speed. And it's just fun. It's fun and fast. And this is what we want to watch. We want to watch the fun, fast stuff. Sorry, everyone who's a long distance.
Sprinters, nice, very good. All right, yeah, December 12th, and as I said, you will see it all here on 9. EPL action overnight on Stan Sport. Here are all the best bits.
Pedro Neto. Achampong! A first senior goal for Chelsea's teenage centre-back. But here for Manchester City with O'Reilly and Haaland! When they need a goal, they turn to him. Here goes Semenya. Gaze in the way, but not dealt with. It's 2-0. He's there again. Murphy. Nice clever ball to find Miley. Voltemada! Oh, what a goal that is! Nick Voltemada with the deftest of touches. Petrona, Patolby, Lefay and Mayenda not far away. Oh, it's going to be an own goal! From Ladislav Krejci! Well played underneath this one from Saka. Trossard with the final touch. Oh, the shot coming in. Oh, it's brilliant. What about that for an introduction?
Cracking goals right there, and the action doesn't stop. Tonight's doubleheader is headlined by one of the greatest rivalries in world sport, Liverpool and Manchester United head-to-head live from Anfield. Before that, it's Tottenham up against Aston Villa. It is all live and in 4K ultra-high definition on your home of football, Stan Sport. So another loss for Nottingham Forest overnight. They went down to Chelsea 3-0, and, well, in the wake of that, Ange Postecoglou has been sacked. So this is the big news this morning. Aussie Ange sacked just 19 minutes after full time and after only 39 days and 9 matches in charge. So it's been talked about. Stan Sports' Craig Foster joining us here on Wide World of Sports. And Fozzie, good to see you. It has been talked about, but it's brutal when it happens.
Well, the coaching merry-go-round in the EPL is brutal, that's for sure, but it's a shocking decision, in every respect. The fact that Marinakis first sacked Nuno anyway, which everyone kind of, universally realised was a pretty ridiculous decision at the time, but then brought in Ange, in which case you know that you're going to need some time to be able to change the style of the team. During that period, though, of course, Ange knew that he needed to manage some results as well as a stylistic change, and that's what he had gambled that he was going to be able to do, because he knew, and we all know, that Marinakis sacks coaches. Like this, I think, will be the 9th coach in the last 8 years, and across in Greece, where he owns Olympiacos, he had 16 in 14 years, right? So, yeah. So Ange knew what he was walking into. But I tell you what, the only way that this could occur is if you brought in someone like Ange Postecoglou and then you looked at it and said, well, the change is not occurring. And even after 39 days, it's still ridiculous. But if the change is not occurring, you could say, OK, well, we've made the wrong decision here, it's just not working. But actually, the team throughout that period has been demonstrating that they're changing. They've had some fantastic opportunities. They've had games they should have won. Sunderland home, Real Betis, which is a very strong team away in Europa League as well. They should have won that game. Played fantastic, particularly first half. And even here against Chelsea, for those who want to go watch it, that first half was excellent from Nottingham Forest, the best football that they've played for quite some years. So you can see the change happening. Unfortunately, I think, you've got the owner and also the environment wasn't conducive to staying, because the fans loved Nuno, the last guy, and he'd done so well there that it was kind of a surprise him being sacked. And then so Ange's walked into what became very quickly a toxic environment. And the final thing I'll say is what he needed was Marinakis, like Ratcliffe at Manchester United, when their coach has really not been doing that well and has a long time, over a year now, to try and change the style. What he needed was Marinakis to come out in the last few weeks and back him and say, listen, we made this change for a reason. We can see, the data says this, we can see that the change is occurring, and therefore he has my full confidence. And I think by the time we hit January, you've got a window, he can bring in 2 or 3 players who can play that style. But he did not do that. And that's when you knew that Ange was on borrowed time.
And it seems to me that Marinakis, and obviously you know him a hell of a lot better than I did, it seems to be that is his style.
That's true.
Right from the word go, sitting here on this panel, we've talked about it for the 39 days, or the 5 shows that we've had here.
Exactly.
He's been on a short leash right from the word go. So is this what we're going to expect for the next guy who comes in? And I suppose that's question number 1. And what about Ange? Where does he go next?
Well, how long we got? But so the next guy's going to come. Yeah, this is this owner. That's true. So I think from Ange's perspective, or any team builders, those are the type of coaches who need some time in order to change the style of a team. Like Ange keeps saying, "I win a trophy in my 2nd year," but he also acknowledged at this club, he said, "This is not a project. I need results along the way." He said that in one of his first press conferences. He knew that he had to manage both of those processes because of the particular owner at this club. So yes, the new guy's under the same pressure, but what they'll do is they'll go back now to someone, undoubtedly, back to the same defensive style of play, because that's what was successful for them. So in other words, I think from coaching perspective, from Aussies, we want Ange at that level. We've got Kevin Muscat, looks like he might go to Glasgow Rangers, which would be fantastic. So we're just starting to put people there, and I think what it'll do is make all Australian coaches say, listen, you need to be really careful as to the situation you're stepping into and the owner that you're going to be working under. Ange made that choice. He knew the risk, and unfortunately this, what I would say is a stupid decision, but a very predictable one, has been made. So where does he go from here? Well, there's many national teams he can take, but what we want, hopefully he'll take a short break and then he'll be back at one of the top level clubs in Europe. He's proven that he can be there. We need him there because, now Muskie's in this frame, and now we've got, Graham Arnold might go after Iraq, he might go across to Europe, and we've got many top young coaches coming through, and we want that pathway to accelerate.
Absolute cracking game tonight. Switching now to the EPL. Obviously, Liverpool up against Man United. Man United had so much drama lately. Liverpool had a bit of a stumble themselves. So many new players and so forth. Why do these two sides? Why is this game? Why do the crowd don't like each other? In fact, it's hatred, isn't it?
History. Just who do you support again?
I'm Liverpool.
Okay. Well, it's good. So look, it's enticing game. You're talking about literally hundreds of millions of people watching this around the world. The reason is because the history of the two clubs, when they were the two big ones, before Arsenal under Arsene Wenger became serial winners as well, this was the big game, and it remains so today. So it's going to be fantastic. Both clubs under pressure, both coaches, having to prove a little bit at the moment, and that's funny to say with Arne Slot, having won last season, but he's made a big change in personnel, and he's struggling a little bit to get this new group to perform at the same level as last season, and that's going to be interesting to watch.
Foz, thanks for joining us.
Okay, pleasure.
All right, another great night of EPL action in store on Stan Sport. Stick around, this is what's coming your way right here on Wide World of Sports. It was a magic day on the banks of Sydney Harbour during the week with the unveiling of the 2026 Milano Cortina Winter Paralympics uniform at the Governor-General's residence, Admiralty House. Australia's set to send our strongest ever team to the Winter Paras, and a man who's hoping to be there is a sports Hall of Famer and an absolute legend in Paralympic sport, winters and summers. Michael Milton, thanks for joining us on Wide World of Sports.
Good morning, guys.
Great to see you. Now, first, I just want to underline for everyone your history in Paralympics, summer and winter. Your first Paralympics was the winters in Innsbruck in '88. This week, 25 years since, obviously, 2000 Summer Paralympics here in Sydney, and you passed the torch to Louise Savage so she could light the cauldron. Does that seem like a lifetime ago?
You know, it's a little bit like yesterday. It's the only time I've ever performed in front of a home crowd as a skier.
Right.
Not that it was just a walk, but, 110,000 people and the power and the energy that was coming from the stadium full of people was, it's definitely a day I'll remember forever.
Amazing.
And now you're going to try qualify for your 7th Paralympics across winters and summers. Coming at the age of 52, you've got some other insane goals like skating 100 kilometres. I'm sorry, but I just have one really important question. Why?
Yes.
Why?
It was interesting listening to your conversation about Arnie retiring, because I'm at kind of the opposite end.
Yeah.
She seems very young to me and finishing, and I'm kind of on the opposite end. So, the passion is still there. I love to ski, and in some ways this is an opportunity to ski more. Skiing's an interesting one in that it's a gravity-based sport, so gravity works on old bodies, like maybe even more than younger bodies. And there's also the element, as a 3-time cancer survivor, I went through my latest cancer just under 2 years ago. To be a professional athlete again, to train, to feel healthy and fit, is something that is also a huge motivator for me.
Michael, you're an absolute legend. It's so lovely to meet you. You had a break of your hip in Europe. How is the body at the moment?
The body's pretty good. So I was on my way in Europe last winter in March to do a crossing from Mont Blanc to the Matterhorn, across Switzerland, backcountry ski trip. And unfortunately had a fall in preparing for that and fractured my femur. But it feels good. And lots of the body feels pretty good. The back, the knee, the important things. And the head, the most important thing. Feel pretty young and feel pretty good.
What were the things that really hurt when you first started going up a notch? What were the things that really hurt?
Oh,
Everything?
No, not even that. Sure, there's a bit of soreness from the gym program at the moment and stuff like that. But in terms of skiing, I ski 40-hour days every winter. I had work in Thredbo. No, nothing really. There was a bit of bruising from gates, and for some reason the gates hit me in different places than they did 20 years ago. And so I had to move some padding around and some things, because they weigh about a kilo and you're hitting about 30, 40k an hour.
So just a few little flesh wounds.
Yeah, no, it was a bit of bruising and stuff, but there's nothing major in terms of pain or discomfort or anything like that.
So this just self-motivation. It sounds like what drives you. You said you've survived cancer 3 times, you've walked the Kokoda Trail twice, scaled Kilimanjaro, I believe. Why? On the back of Bronte's question, what drives you? Where's the determination come from?
I think when we go back to those cancer journeys, as a 3-time cancer survivor, 3 separate ones, 3 different places and different types. The 4th one is probably when, not if.
Right.
And, I want to squeeze the marrow out of life. I want to do as much as I can. I want to follow my passions and have fun and do interesting things in different places. So, the motivation is pretty intrinsic. And, there's certainly no money in it. There's no sponsors on me yet, if there's anybody out there. The feeling of wanting to ski, wanting to perform, wanting to challenge, test myself. There are different limitations with age than there used to be, but the desire is still there to challenge and to test myself.
There are some spaces for some logos there, so who knows?
Absolutely.
Who knows? Thanks for joining us. Looking forward to perhaps, maybe, almost definitely seeing you back in the green and gold.
I think, from my perspective, from a technical skiing perspective, I'm pretty confident that I can ski at that level, and my results from national champ say that. So, fingers crossed, not legs.
Good on you.
Legs are too hard.
Michael, thank you very much.
Thanks,
Good
guys.
to see you. All right, right now on Wild Water Sports, we are going surfing, and this is a surfing comp with a difference.
The progression of surfing is growing at a rapid pace. The Olympics, coaching, and of course, wave pool technology. This event, Stab High, is at the forefront with such a fun event for all athletes and everyone watching. One big make of an aerial crowns the champion. And this wave pool right here is part of that revolution.
This technology is helping us progress our sport, level up, and just perfect our craft. It's pretty special to be able to dream of tricks and then come into the wave pool and, just create them into existence. So it's pretty cool. It's helping us level up.
I think what's like the wave pools are doing for surfing is giving guys repetition to try and new tricks that they've never thought were possible, because they get the same air section twice, and it's just, you know, they're elevating the game of surfing with it.
I think the wave pool technology is just changing the game because it gives so much repetition and the airs just get so much better. So I think there's no limits on where we can go with it.
This event brings the best aerial surfers from around the globe to this very pool. Huey Vaughan, Miller Coco Brown, Sky Brown, Olympic dual medalist, Keegan Palmer. Let's not forget 2 world champions with Yago Dora and Molly Picklum.
It's such a fun event. It brings like all the core surfers out, and I feel like as surfing, everyone just wants to see everyone go big. So obviously one section, you can only do one thing, you can do a big air.
So what goes into making the perfect air section on a wave? Here's James Miles with the breakdown.
We created 17 different versions of this wave, and we slowly worked with the surfers to whittle it down to this one. We wanted to make the best possible wave, and that's a blend of creating a wave that gives you the velocity to do the tricks that the guys are doing today, but also the landing that allows them to make and ride out. And yeah, a lot of late nights have gone into this, but we couldn't be happier with the result.
Surfers say comps like this are revolutionising the sport and welcome the possibility of an aerial event in the Olympics.
Yeah, I'd be keen. Take me to the Olympics and do some punts. Sounds fun.
Wave pool air contest in the Olympics will be way more exciting than what they have right now. So I think they should do that for sure.
That would be super fun. I think that, yeah, I back it for sure. 100%. I reckon it'd be so sick. Especially if it was an air event, it'd be pretty mental. Turns would be sick as well, but they already got that on tour, so we might leave that to the tour. But a punt comp, stab high to the Olympics, oath.
In the end, it was Sierra Kerr who came up clutch in the women's pro division, securing a victory on the final wave. And in the men's pro division, it was Joel Vaughan taking the win from Yago Dora and the rest of the field.
Felt pretty cool. Had all my family here and everyone from the local board riders club come down to watch and support, and it was pretty cool.
Stab High pushing innovation of surfing to new highs and stamping aerial surfing on the map for years to come.
Let's take a look around the grounds this Sunday morning, beginning with racing and plenty of it. Melbourne first up in the 146th running of the Caulfield Cup, with jockey Jamie Mellon becoming the first woman to ride a Caulfield Cup winner. She was on board Half Yours. While in Sydney, the world's best sprinter, Ka Ying Rising, took out the Everest, the richest race on turf, worth $20 million. Now, at the US Formula One Grand Prix in Austin, Texas, it was a nightmare sprint for McLaren, with Aussie Oscar Piastri and teammate Lando Norris colliding on the first turn. Some damage too. And in qualifying, it was Max Verstappen nabbing pole position, Oscar 6th fastest in qualifying. And finally, it's all happening in the Sheffield Shield, with Tasmania winning their first match this season against Western Australia by 3 runs in a thriller, while Queensland were too good for the reigning champions South Australia. Usman Khawaja and Marnus Labuschagne were the stars there, timely ahead of the first Ashes test in Perth just a month away. And staying with cricket, Mark Taylor, this is a conversation that's happening in lounge rooms and pubs all around Australia. What does the 11 look like for the first test?
That's mine at the moment. And you can see at the top of the order, I'm still looking to see some runs from that top order, all 3 of them, and throw even Matt Renshaw into that, who's playing in the one-dayer today for Australia. I'd like to see any or all of those make some more runs.
Surely Uzi's done and dusted. Doesn't matter if he makes another run or not. He'll surely be opener for Perth.
He probably will be, but I would like to see him make 100, as I'd like to see Weatherald make another 100, or Sam Constance. They've all made some 50s and 60s so far. No one's actually nailed down the spot. I think Marnus Labuschagne's done what I want to see our top order used to get some runs in the Shield competition. Sam Constance has been out cheaply a couple of times, got 50 recently against the Vics in a close loss for New South Wales. Bear in mind there's a couple of Shield games to go before you have to pick that side, and the top order's where it's all at. And that side, by the way, didn't have Pat Cummins in it, because I don't think he'll play. I don't know any more than our viewers at home, but I don't think he'll play from what I'm reading. So therefore, Scott Boland will obviously fill the void that's left by Pat Cummins.
That is going to be very much a topic of conversation over the next month or so. All right, a new season of WNBL, a new era for WNBL, and there is a whole lot happening. You will see it all here on Nine's Wide World of Sports. The Sydney Flames, they started in style, 85-77 over the Geelong Venom. Flames guard Lauren Nicholson was the standout there with 27 points. Now, in the earlier game, the UC Capitals took down the Southside Melbourne Flyers 80-71 at John Cain Arena. There it is. Sarah Blixarves starred for the Capitals on her return from major back surgery. She had a game-high 19 points. And a silver lining for the Flyers, Captain Kayla George became the third highest point scorer in WNBL history. And we are pleased to say that she joins us right now on Wide World of Sports. Kayla, congratulations for that. There you are. Good morning. It must be so good to get this new season underway. And as we've been saying, a new era. There's a lot to be excited about in the WNBL.
Yeah, good morning. Thanks for having me. Yeah, absolutely. It's so exciting, and there's been such a buzz and a build-up to that John Cain Arena game. And so I'm still kind of annoyed that we lost last night, so it's still pretty fresh. But look, there was a great takeaway. There was amazing fans, great turnout, and I think great for women's basketball. So plus, it's a win.
I mean, Kayla, you're a true champion, always chasing those wins. Even after 18 seasons in the WNBL, I want to know what's really different now from when you started all that time ago.
Yeah, well, actually this year is the first year that's had, proper investment. So we've, rebranded the league. A lot of the clubs have revamped their logo, and we've had investment, and we're the oldest league in Australia, female league. So it's about time we had the proper investment. We've had international medals with our Opals program for over 2 decades. So we've had the product. We've just had to have the investment. And now that we've got it, I think it's really exciting. And yesterday's games were a great start to a fantastic season. And we've got another 2 games today that look to be really great.
Bendigo Spirit, defending champions, everyone's favourites to go back-to-back. What are your thoughts on that? Who can really challenge them?
Yeah, look, I think Townsville have a very similar team. They've kept a lot of their core and brought back some similar imports. So I think, Shannon runs a pretty tight ship up there. So it'll be a tough game for Bendigo today as well. For Townsville today down in Bendigo. And Bendigo have got their vets back. They lost a couple key players in the MVP and Sammy Whitcomb and Veronica Burton. But they've brought in a couple good imports. So, look, I think it'll be a really great game today as well. I think the whole level of the league is better than probably the last couple of seasons. So I think, onwards and upwards, it's a great quality comp.
Kayla, apart from last night's loss, it's been a pretty good year for you. You captained the Opals earlier this year to the Asian Cup victory. Tell us about that experience, and is that something that's inspired you looking forward to this season?
Yeah, definitely. Look, I love wearing the green and gold. There's nothing quite like it. And, that group was quite a fresh group. There was a lot of debutantes that hadn't played for the Opals before at a major tournament. So it made my life really easy because everyone really just stepped into the culture and really played whatever role they needed to, wherever necessary. And we walked away undefeated and with the gold for the first time in 8 years, which is really exciting. Particularly China and Japan usually come out really strong as well. And China had that big 7'2", 3" girl. So we didn't end up playing them in the actual Asian Cup, but we had some pre-games versus them, and she didn't play. So I was looking forward to playing against her, but they fell short in the semi and ended up with the bronze. But yeah, definitely. Look, like I said, playing for the Opals is my favourite team, and so it gets me pretty hyped. And then, coming into this fresh season for me with the Southside Melbourne Flyers has been really exciting. Of course, I'm the most experienced on this team by far because besides our import that's just come in, the next eldest is 26. So I've got 10 years on them. So, trying to just use my experience and really nurture the group. And I don't ever claim to know everything, but I do like to, use my experience where necessary. So we've got a great group of girls on and off the court, so I'm looking forward to seeing how we progress through the season.
They're lucky to have you, Kayla. Thanks very much for joining us this morning on Wide World of Sports.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
And as Kayla said, more WNBL action today. Reigning champions Bendigo Spirit are up against the Townsville Fire in a rematch of last season's final series. That's from 12:30 Eastern Daylight Time, while Adelaide Lightning head-to-head against the Perth Lynx from 6:30. You can see it all, as well as the rest of the WNBL season, right here on 9 and 9 now. All right, we're going to take another short break, and in a moment, look back at the craziness, the soap opera of AFL's trade period, the winners and the losers, and the blow-ups on deadline day. There are a couple of those. We'll see you soon. Here on Wide World of Sports, we're going to talk some AFL trade period right now, and it is done and dusted, but a couple of the really big stories, a couple of the trades that did happen, and one that didn't happen, and that is right down the bottom there, Zach Merritt. So Charlie Curnow got to the Swans, he wanted that. Christian Petrarca got to the Suns, Tom De Koning, Clayton Oliver, Jamara Ugle-Hagan. That was a big story from the Bulldogs to the Suns. But Zach Merritt, being the captain of Essendon, very, very strident about the fact that he wanted to get to the Hawks and they couldn't get the deal done. What does that mean for Zach Merritt now and his standing, I guess, in the game, particularly at Essendon?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I'm a Hawks fan, so I thought that was done and dusted. And amongst my WhatsApp group, we were very excited about it. But when it didn't happen, obviously angry, and you can see the signs here now. But
That's his manager, very cranky.
Because they've made such a big call on it so far out that there was no way that he was ever going to play for Essendon again. But now he's going to have to go back. You know, put up his bag and take his toys and put them back and go back to Essendon. That's going to be a very, very difficult conversation for him. So sad for the Hawks, but in the end, they would have had to give up way too much. So I can see why they didn't do that particular deal.
It's tough for Zach, though, isn't it? Like, he's captain, I think, 6 times, best and fairest.
Yeah.
Not easy to go. He's a good lad, too. Zach Merritt, actually pretty good cricketer.
Yeah.
When he's a young
Can he open the batting for Australia in Perth? When you've got everyone else in the conversation.
Maybe Cricket Australia should have been there at the trade deadline. Maybe come and play cricket. Yeah, but that's going to be really difficult at Essendon now for him to go back. Yes, they're all professional athletes these days. That's part of business. But it's not easy to go back as the captain and the best and fairest winner and then say, oh, by the way, boys, I wanted to go, but I'm now back.
Yeah,
it's going to be
and I'm all in.
Yeah.
So Charlie Curnow to the Swans, and they had to give up a couple of future picks, but they also had to give up Ollie Florent, who, in a separate deal, actually I should say Ollie Florent wasn't part of this deal. He was a separate deal. Will Hayward, though, he was part of this deal.
Yeah, that's
My information was he didn't really want to go. He was pretty filthy about the idea.
No, and he's been a good player too for Will Hayward. But the Swans, the Swans needed someone like a Charlie Curnow. Like last year, they had a bit of a rebuilding year. I think under Dean Cox, started off slowly, but finished off all right. But just lacked someone up front, didn't they? Yeah. So they've got the person they certainly wanted, and now we'll find out if it's a good move or not. But they needed some tall timber up front, and Charlie Curnow will provide that.
And a couple of extra weeks for the AFL on the front page news. Front page of the news cycle.
Rodney has been following this like you wouldn't believe.
Yeah, this is my absolute favourite part, where no sport's getting played, all the players are stressed, and we're still talking about it.
Yeah, there we go. Well, let's talk about this. So forget Snoop Dogg, forget Teddy Swims. What about this for some halftime entertainment in Mexico? This is Team Monterrey Espacion. And,
This is amazing.
This was fantastic. Look here. And he's playing the part, something fierce. Here we go. Body slam and... yes!
Oh, yeah!
It's him.
Off the top rope.
Let's bring this into the Olympics. I think this is a goal.
I tell you what, people would love this. I mean, we love a race. We love anything, you know, getting from A to B somehow.
As long as we're not talking about trade season, I'm happy. Let's watch this instead.
On that note, let's get to a break. More Wide World of Sports on its way. With this is Aussie triathlete Matt Hauser on a training ride. This is the scourge of every Australian cyclist at this time of year, being swooped by a magpie. I'm sure there are plenty of you at home who can relate to this. Matt's actually in action today. There you go. In Wollongong, going for gold at the World.
He needs some cable ties.
Yes.
Cable ties.
All over.
Yeah, a mate of mine up the road, he rides his bike all the time. Cable ties out of the head.
There you
go.
Look like an absolute Fruit Loop, which probably suits you very well. But yeah, it works a treat for the magpies.
Love you to join us this time next week with Ariarne Titmus joining us on the panel here on Wide World of Sports. There's a lot to look forward to there. We've got to get out of here. Bronte, I know you wanted to talk more trade week, AFL, but unfortunately...
We're out of time.
There's no time. All right, thanks for your company. We'll see you soon.
I shut 'em down.